Hey,
Hey there.
bless me.
Blessings. Much love. Much love.
Yeah,
Great to see you.
good to be here. Good to see you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. How has your day been so far? Your Christmas Eve?
I we said Tuesday, and I was like, "Yep, Tuesday. Let's connect." And then I totally forgot. Oh, Christmas Eve. No, it's beautiful. It's in flow. It's kind of just normal. You know what I mean? But just really, yeah, tuned up and really special day to connect. So yeah,
Yeah. Tuned up and turned on. Tuned up, turned on. Thank you so much just for connecting. And it's interesting because when you say it's been in flow and it's just a normal day, what's a normal day for you these days? Like what's a normal flowing day
yeah,
for you?
yeah. Right now, meditation is how I start and end the day. Those are my
Mhm.
end caps. And I'm finishing a health coaching certification right now. So that's been, I'm kind of like racing to the finish line. So I'm studying quite a bit.
Awesome.
And nature is an essential part of the day, every day. You know what I mean? I have to get out, walk, move my body, listen to some music. Like it's just very fundamental right
Mhm.
now. You know, the how to keep it energized and aligned moment to moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thanks for sharing. Congratulations in advance on your certification.
Thank
You
you.
know, congratulations. What kind of a health certification is it that you've been taking and testing on?
Yeah, so it's a natural health coach and it's through Dr. Group. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Group. Anyways, he runs global healing and really beautiful, very high vibrational, things that they're doing. So it's around fasting, it's around urotherapy, it's around organizing people's lifestyles. I have another diploma in holistic iridology
Mhm.
and a background in science, but this allows me just to kind of really get into like how do we really coach people on the fundamental changes that have to be there. You know what I mean? No matter what your genetic profile is, no matter what's going on,
Mhm.
it's your lifestyle, it's your day to day. Like that can never be supplemented. You can't supplement your way out of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just how are you moving, how are you breathing, how are you sleeping, how are
Mhm.
you hydrating if you're doing that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's no supplement out of it. I like how you put that.
Yeah.
I like how you put that. We can't, supplement our way out of a natural way of being, of living. Yeah. With
Yeah.
the energy that's giving. So Danielle, when it comes to holistic health, when it comes to health and wellness, when it comes to, living by these natural laws and the way that you live your life today, where did it come from? Like where was the origin point of the way that you live now? How was it, years ago? Was it always like this? Like have you always been on this path or this trajectory, or did it originate somewhere?
I would say, thank you for asking that. I would say I got the seed early on. So my grandparents are from Europe and my grandmother was very holistic. She wasn't into, like, I was not immunized as a child. She was whole foods. My grandparents farmed, seven generations of farmers, so they were very connected to the land and not about this pharmaceutical pill, that kind of culture that they came into when they came here in their 30s to United States. So my mom passed that seed on to me for sure. Like when I was young, it was especially like 0 to 8, it was holistic remedies. We were sick, it was garlic, lobelia, echinacea, that kind of thing. Once it got to be 8 and beyond, I started getting into the public school system. I got into the main medical, and I was very sick as a child. I was diagnosed with environmental allergies and mold allergies at 8 years old. A lot of other health conditions that went along with that. That's kind of what we would call autoimmune these days, but almost 20 plus years ago, that really wasn't as common of a term as it is now.
Mm.
I would say that I was one of those canary in the coal mine type of constitutions, and just highly sensitive, a lot of food allergies, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of had to be aware of my health, but then just, got really messed up. A lot of uh, round after round of antibiotics,
Mm,
many as a child, just a lot of these rare, strange illnesses that nobody could really decipher what they were.
mhm,
And then eating processed food, you know what I mean? So kind of the first 8 years were like a much more pure, and then the last kind of from 8 to like 20, let's say,
mhm,
that was just very conventional processed food, school lunches, you know what I mean? Like all of that. And then around, I can't say fully 20 because I was a personal trainer um, when I was young in high school,
mm.
and they really got me tuned up to like eating clean, eating well,
Okay.
and that kind of reinvigorated, it watered that seed that I already
Mhm,
had, you know. And then 22 I went vegan, and then from there it was just kind of, oh, this is the way,
mm,
natural medicine, this is what I was born into. And
mm.
so the rest is history from there, you know. Just you can never go back. You can never.
Well, some people do go back. It's very interesting that, some people choose to go back for whatever reasons, but why do you feel like you can never go back? Like, what was the thing that was the deciding factor, or really the line, you drew the line in the sand, like, I can never go back?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just one, it's understanding my body. Like, thankfully, my body, if I don't eat well, I feel it right away. Like, I really cannot get away with much. Some people have a constitution where they can just trash it. You know what I mean? They have the Ferrari constitution. They're eating junk food. They're not feeling it. They have those kind of shock absorbers on their in their genetic profile that don't catch up till much later in life. But I don't have that. Like, I
Mm,
have to be very tuned up with what I'm doing day to day. If I'm not, eating whole, clean foods, it immediately impacts my energy levels. So for me, it's just been playing with it over the years. Like, oh, maybe I'll incorporate some sourdough bread. That's not going to be good for me, you know? Oh, maybe I'll incorporate some of this. Like, no, it just doesn't work. So it's just been trial and error of, oh, yep, this causes inflammation in my body. Oh, yep, this is not attuned to my moral belief system, you know? Like I could never, I at this point could never conceive of going back to eating meat just because of the way that my moral, like, do no harm is such a foundational way that I live my life. And I feel it. You know what I mean? I think that people could be very healthy, quote, like in the body, eating maybe a whole ancestral type of diet, but you feel it in your heart. I feel it in my energy field, you know what I mean, in my levity of being
mhm,
when I'm consuming density of that nature. And I've eaten meat, throughout my life.
mhm,
So it's been playing with it. Definitely my long fast, my 30-day long fast. Like after that, I was already eating very clean. But
mhm,
after that, it's just, it opens something up in your consciousness. It opens something up in my consciousness, I'll say, where there's many things on many levels, spiritually, but also in the way that I live my life and the way that I consume food, that I can never, that was the line in the sand, as you say.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that. That testimony. Seriously, it's a powerful testimony, and it also resonates on many levels with myself. I was raised eating everything, pretty much all animal products, animal flesh, like everything, almost everything you can think of. And then the line in the sand was drawn for me when I saw a documentary that revealed to me things that I had never seen before. And just like you said, Danielle, the soul was not in alignment. My spirit was not in agreement. It was very, not only disheartening, it was illuminating. It was eye-opening, and it was shocking. It was shocking to my inner child, and really just to myself as like someone who loves animals, who had many pets growing up, and who really just has a connection with nature. I had felt that I had gone against nature for so many years. I had felt I had gone against myself, gone against just my heart. It was like very emotional watching those scenes unfold, and with these hidden cameras and these slaughterhouses and these, the animal agriculture and just all of the things that go on that we don't see. It's not publicized. It's not really revealed to the public. And I've even had people in my family that because I'm pretty much the only one in my family that doesn't go beyond vegan. Like I'm the only one pretty much one of the only ones that I know. Yeah, yeah, like on this side. So a lot of them, they don't even want to watch it, you know, because they don't want to stop eating. They feel like if they do watch that content that reveals to them what is actually going on, they will have to make a choice, you know, and they don't want to make a choice. Like they want to just keep on keeping on. So it's interesting the way that you say that your mother was a big influence when it comes to, you know, these natural way of living, like getting away from, I guess, pharmaceuticals, like just coming away from a lot of the things that we see in the mainstream, like just being raised on pills and medicine. Like myself, I was raised on a lot of that stuff. So is she still with you today?
She
Oh,
is, yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. What does she think of your lifestyle now?
She's mm, she's an angel on my path. She's very proud, first of all, of everything that I've come to. And she is like right there. She's moving through some of her own health opportunities.
Mhm.
And she's been just, if I'm cleansing, hey, I'm doing a liver flush, or hey, I'm doing this. And she's like, I want to do that too, you know? So she's doing that, and I'm watching her just progressively as she's been parasite cleansing, and she's been cleansing her body, and she's eating cleaner and cleaner and cleaner all the time. She's like, yep, I only want 2 meals a day. I'm like, here we go, you know, that's how it goes. When you start to eliminate so much of that overgrowth of microorganisms in the body that aren't harmonious. And then you really start to see, you can tune into when you're actually hungry, or when the microbes are hungry and they're telling you, eat 3 meals a day, eat cooked food, eat this, eat that, you know what I mean? So just watching her has been really beautiful. And she's in her later 60s, and she just keeps getting more vibrant all the time, you know what I mean? So yeah, she's amazing.
Beautiful. Great to hear that. You know, great to hear that. And it's awesome to know that she supports you, she's with you, she's behind you, she's beside you, that, you know, she's like really just supportive of your journey, and that she's proud of you for your learning, just your exploring, and just you just learning more about your body and the way that we function. You know, it's awesome to have that support system, especially with loved ones, especially with family, to have them, you know, support you on your journey, even though they may see it as something very unique. You know, sometimes they don't always agree, but it's awesome to have that support, you know, just to have that extra boost from someone you love. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really, I've gotten a lot of support from my family. I would say when I first became vegan, I was probably one of the worst, preachy,
Mhm.
couldn't get off my soapbox. I was just hammering everybody that I came in contact with, like, you're doing everything wrong. Listen. And it was so aggressive to most people in my reality that they were just like, whoa, Danielle, we can't, you know, just please just take a rest. So over the last, 10 years, pretty much, I've learned how to just really lead by example instead
Mhm.
of, you know what I mean, share what I'm doing, especially if the doorway is open, if the invitation is there. Hey, what are you doing? That for me is the best possible time to share, because just through so much of my own trial and error, I saw very quickly the hard approach, doesn't work. But when people start to become curiosity, it's that doorway,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's that entrance point where people then avail themselves, they're open, they're ready to receive. And that's the time ultimately. Because like you said, like we know, right? Like when you have been inundated with so much toxicity,
Mhm.
the body's not even responding anymore. Your consciousness is so bogged down, your body is digesting food it's not getting any nutrition from all day long. You have no your life force is really diminishing on every front. It's so hard to perceive clearly, so hard to see clearly, another way of being. And so that's why I see more so like I have the compassion, because I'll just share a quick story if I can.
Mhm.
When I passed through 2 vision quests, and I did them in Ecuador. And my first one, I went in vegan,
Mhm.
and 4 days on the mountain, no food, no water, my first dry fast that I had ever done. And I heard on the mountain, like, I heard this voice, like, if you want to be healthy, you got to eat meat. So I really question now what that voice was. You know what I mean? Was that the microbes inside? For sure. to me. You know, those parasites had just been burrowed there. They were just waiting for their opportunity. I'm here on the mountain, no food, no water. They need to eat. They're saying, you want to be healthy, go eat meat. So I left the mountain. This was in 2021. So this is after being vegan, vegetarian for for quite a while. And then I went back. I went back to eating meat. And so I came off the mountain. My Vision Quest family is very supportive because meat is in a lot of indigenous cultures and a lot of, meat is a critical part of what they're doing. It's part of ceremonies and everything. So I started eating meat and I could just perceive the density, the veil that started to overcome my consciousness and my clarity around interactions, my clarity around energetics happening in life started to dull. It started to dim a little bit. And I really kind of, I was eating clean and I was all about, oh, well, the sourcing. But I somehow like got myself really messed up on this concept of like, well, if it's raised humanely, then this, maybe it's better, the whole thing. And so I'm grateful that I had that experience because I could clearly see from being really strict vegan the clarity that I had of being of mind, of heart, lightheartedness, to reincorporating meat through a spiritual process that I felt like was coming from within, coming from Mother Earth herself. And that's why I share sometimes we always have to be very discerning with the voices that are coming through on the loudspeaker in our consciousness because they can be very elusive and all kinds of these malevolent energies can pose as something, you know what I mean? Pose as something that's there to support, there to help. But I do think it's part of my path, it was part of my path. And but it taught me so much. And so now I come back to this way of life and no animal harm. And that is in 100% accordance with my true heart. And now I can see clearly, like with wisdom, the difference, and can speak to that too, and can speak to people who are like, well, if it's raised humane and on the land and this and that, and the majority of those animals are still going to slaughterhouses because it messes people's consciousness up to be slaughtering animals all day. It's not for anybody. Don't get me going on that whole thing about, them even bringing people to do slave labor on the whole situation, but it's a big ball of wax, that people don't want to look at. So
Sure, for sure. First of all, thank you for just being so open and forthcoming, with your experiences and just your honesty and just your openness. Like, I really appreciate it. It's refreshing to hear different sides of the spectrum, different sides of the fence. And just your language as well, Danielle. Like when you're talking about the entry points, the ball of wax, the loudspeaker, like just the way that you speak is really awesome because you're illustrating. It's like painting pictures with analogies and beautiful metaphors. Just to not to go off on a tangent, but these words that you're using, these phrases, they seem to come very natural to you. Like, have you always been sort of, I guess, into maybe poetry or literate with different reading literature? Like where did that come from?
yeah, well, thank you first of all. Yeah, I think words have always been one of my medicines, but also one of my ways that I connect. And yeah, and it's always brought forth like your energy is so beautiful, you know what I mean? And we get to share in this open space, and that's really when these words come through. Because one thing I notice is that these words don't always come through. Like I see in specific unions with different people, my best friend here and this person, my mom, and it's just a stream of consciousness that's clean and pristine. So I would just like to add that it's a co-creation of what's happening here. It's a co-creation of the energy you're bringing, and that's bringing forth maybe, you know what I mean, those illustrative
You said
words.
you said it, Danielle, when you mentioned stream of consciousness. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're like channeling a stream of consciousness through this, and you're touching people even through the technology. Because one of the things you said, Danielle, and I had never heard this before, but you talked about the constitution of the canary in the coal mine. What can you talk about that, like just briefly? What is the canary in the coal mine? I've never heard that before.
Yes. So canaries were traditionally used, and I didn't make that up. That's totally a thing. But canaries were used in the coal mine to let the miners know when the air was getting toxic, because the canaries would die. And so when you say canary in the coal mine with people, it's that the environment's toxic, something toxic is going on, and this person has a really sensitive constitution. Their being is sensitive to what's happening. Maybe there's mold
Mhm.
and everybody's not picking up on it, but this one person is really starting to show symptoms. So that person would be, the canary in the coal mine. But that's where it comes from, that helped the miners get out when it was starting to get into toxic levels.
Wow. I had never even known they used canaries for that use, for that reason.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if they use them in that sense, or if it was like maybe an old school thing that there were just canaries around, and if they noticed a canary that was dead.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how the whole thing worked, but that's what it's supposed to
Wow.
be. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So that gave them the indication, like that was indicative of the environment.
Yeah.
Okay. To let them
Yeah.
know. So we can use that as an very interesting. This is the first time I've heard that. Thank you for giving me something new. Thank you just for providing so much already. We're just unpacking so much already. And I love how through experimentation, you feel the vibration, like you said, through trial and error. You're like your own scientist in your own laboratory. You're testing and finding out and testing and finding out. Would you say that through your lived experience, is that where you have, I guess, gained the most knowledge, the most wisdom, through your lived experience and not through the testimonies of others or the books or the writings of others or the teachings of others? Has it mainly been through your own experience?
For sure, because I'm one of those people that I've always had that kind of internal guide, and I always say what you just said, like my body is my laboratory, my life, I'm living in it, I'm going to experiment in
Mhm.
it. And I use external reference points as guide stones, but then beyond that, I go like I have to know and experience it for myself,
Mhm.
And if I don't have that direct experience, for me, it's hypothetical, it's
Mhm.
intellectual, it's not rooted in my own knowing. I can't speak to it with authority, and that to me is or know it with authority. And there's nothing that's harder for me than just regurgitating something as if it's truth when I don't know it in my being. That being said, I would say that knowing is one of the things, we all have kind of these different things that are stronger in us, these senses or skills, and knowing is one of the ones that I have definitely been blessed with. Is just when something is true, I feel it. It's like a bolt in my body. I know for sure, you know. So that has also helped me discern along the way, just to navigate in a way that's like,
Mhm.
okay, we can cut down time, but definitely true. And also,
Mhm.
oh, I wanted to say I saw on your page that you sat at Dhammapada. Did
Say
you sit?
again?
Did you sit at Dhammapada? Not to change gears.
Donald Possible?
Dhammapada, the meditation center in Idaho. I saw
Oh,
something a couple
yes, yes,
years ago.
yes.
Yeah.
At Lava Hot
Yes.
Springs. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So you sat a course over there.
yeah. Vipassana. I did a Vipassana with a friend over
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I've been practicing for a number of years now, and
Vipassana.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Wow, wow. I feel like when you go through that with somebody, it's like when I went through that with my friends, oh my gosh, it was like we were no longer friends. We were brothers. We were brothers, we were sisters, we were family after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful experience. And but just that coming into that, so I started sitting courses when I was
Hmm.
24. So, and so it just helped me to really illuminate the importance of like gaining the wisdom for
Hmm.
oneself. You know what I mean? Testing for
Hmm.
oneself. And that really also helped stimulate within me, like, you know, direct experience over everything, direct experience. And not being afraid to go off the rails, try, learn, correct.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Right, exactly. And it's really a testament as well to your mental fortitude because when you have such intuition, the gut instincts, the gut guidance as you do, and you really follow the internal instead of the external, like I really commend you. I really respect you and admire you because I only did it one time, 10 hours a day, meditating for 10 days in a row. On the outside looking in, someone could say like, "Yeah, I could do that," but when you do it, oh my God. It's like the days were just going like at a snail's pace. It was just like slow as a turtle. The days were stretching so long. You're not talking, you're not writing. There's no technology, there's no conduct, there's no conversation, there's no entertainment, there's no relation. You have to deal with all the frustration in that vibration. You have to deal with it all. And you have to find your equanimous state, your equilibrium. You have to find your balance.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, you have to give yourself a lot of allowance as you find your balance.
Yep.
So I all respect to you, for being able to do that. You said you've been doing that for how many years?
So I've been sitting course. I sat my first course when I was 24, almost 25. So that was in 2019. Yeah. I'm getting right now. I'm hopefully it goes through, but I'm getting approved for a 20-day potentially in April. If not, then in
Oh
September.
my
So
gosh,
it,
a 20-day. She said, hopefully, she said, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm about to get approved for a 20-day. A 20-day. Oh my God. That's advanced. That's advanced. That's upper echelon. What do you feel like is like one of the ingredients to the recipe for somebody who has like the ability to go through something like that for 10 days, for 20 days, however long, in complete silence, noble silence, to just be with themselves? What do you feel like a person has to find to be able to get themselves through that?
presence, because if you're thinking we're on day 3, there's 7 more days to go, you're going to be creating so much turmoil in your being. So it really is presence. It's like, okay, I have this 1 hour sit ahead of me. I'm not going to think about lunch. I'm not going to think about what's coming at 8 p.m. I'm not going to think about, just all I have is this moment. And to be fair, like the first course was, whoa, it was hard. And then the courses started to get progressively easier and progressively deeper, to the point that, while a course can still be hard, and I'm by no means like, there are people on the path sitting 60 days, 45 days, like that. I have elders, you know what I mean, that are just like way deep on the path, that are amazing, profoundly developed human beings. But it's presence. That's what it teaches you. It's like, okay, I just have this moment, and I just have awareness, and that's all there is. But that skill has allowed me to move through things in life that nothing else, no other skill that I've ever been gifted or taught,
Mhm.
has given me the ability to do so when things are really uncomfortable and they're really hard. And it's like, okay, well, this too shall pass.
Right.
This too, this discomfort in my body, this is going to move through. It's not permanent. Nothing is permanent. And so to come deeply into that framework, and to read the words of the Buddha and on all of this, it's like, it's this um maturing of being, where we start to really be able to get grounded in what it is to be in the present moment, which is where everything's happening, but it's exactly the place that the mind feels super uncomfortable, especially an untrained mind. But if we can train our minds, then we have the most profound ally of all time right here within us. Then we're totally we're self-contained. We're good to go,
Yeah.
no matter what comes our way. Disaster, people say like, oh, I'm prepping, I don't know what's to come. It's like, prepare
Yes.
inwardly. Prepare inwardly. You don't need to stockpile bullets and guns. You don't need it. But when you are prepared inwardly, and you know that, oh, you can be a force to help govern and to guide through calmness, through tranquility, through peace, because you know that the event is not, it's not
Right.
over. If you're still here in your body, you're still present, there's still breath, and there's still work to be done.
Mm.
So, chop wood, carry water, and on we go.
Mm. Ooh, God. I'm like, yo, it's just so eloquent. I love it. I love it. Oh man, you gave me goosebumps, Danielle. Like you give me feelings of you seen The Matrix?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
So
Yeah.
that's my favorite film of all time. And there was a scene where Morpheus is in one of the programs in the Matrix talking to Neo, and he's like consulting with Neo, letting him know that what he has to expect ahead of himself as he masters himself and gains more mastery over his mind. And he's like, Neo is asking Morpheus, like, what are you what are you trying to tell me? Like that I can dodge bullets? And he's like, no, Neo, no. Like, I'm trying to tell you, when you're ready, you won't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you won't even
Mm-hmm.
have to.
Yeah.
When you're ready, you won't have to. So when you're talking about this, Danielle, just the power of the mind, this wonderful resource, our mental faculties, like everywhere we go, there we are. You go to the mirror, you haven't gone far. Like there you are. You're still there. So to be more aware of what has always been there, I think that's self-care. That's
Bars. Okay, bars.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that testimony because for a lot of people, and even in my group, when we did Vipassana at that center at the Dhamma Hall, it was 30 of us, and I think we left with maybe 26 or 25 of us left. Like some people left. They couldn't handle it for one reason or another. They had to go, and it could it could almost be seen sometimes like a mental surgery, but you're on the operating table, but you're also the surgeon. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
doing the work on yourself. Like you're the one on the table, but you're also the one, doing the work. And it's like scalpel, you're like cutting, you're just going deeper and deeper. So for you during your sits, what has been, I guess, one of the most challenging things? Was it more the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, or the mental aspect that was the most challenging for you?
But definitely early on, I would say the physical, like my first sit was like impossible. My knees hurt. I wasn't used to sitting 10 hours a day. That has calmed down. Although when I came off my 30-day fast, I was weightlifting too fast, too heavy, and I injured my knees. So the last two courses that I went to go serve, I had to sit in a chair like the old ladies on the wall. And that really humbled my ego. I was like not prepared to be in a chair on the wall, but it was great for me. So I would say in the beginning, it was definitely the physical.
Mhm.
The middle courses were probably the mind, you know what I mean? Like just wanting to run away. And I would say, without being overly, I don't know, speaking too highly, but the last couple of courses have really just been a desire to keep going,
Mhm.
a desire to stay in it. So that kind of for me has been the progression. I love the silent part
Mhm.
of it since day one. The silence breaks and I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just like, hey, yeah, I love you. Yeah. But yeah, so but that's definitely, I mean, there's just struggles that come up. And every center, I've had the blessing of sitting in a couple different countries and here in a couple different centers in the United States. And every center has its own kind of energy too, and that can bring different things up. Like when I was sitting in India, like woof, that brought up almost like some type of entity in me. Like I don't even know what was going on. It was just like really big energy, probably from the land and who knows what. There was like some sort of past life thing happening at that time. But I would also say that that's an element. Like wherever you're sitting, there's an energy to it. You're going to be safe, contained, and protected there, but it might bring up different things within you that are different struggles. And so that was definitely my mental course. That was like just really battling with my mind.
Okay.
Whatever else was there. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So when you were in India, by the way, that's a place definitely on my list. Like I definitely would love to travel to India someday. But when you were there sitting in India, you said that it brought up an entity. What can you describe this entity?
I don't even know. So it was really interesting and I don't even know if I want to say entity, but I will. I was sitting, I was an old student at the time, so I was sitting in my cell. And we had a pagoda. And so you sit in silent meditation in your cell. And it's a really intense experience because it was my first time sitting in a cell. And you don't have the accountability of the group energy with you. Like when you're in the hall, everybody's struggling together. You know what I mean? And you have that kind of containment. But when you're in your cell, it's you and you. And you're your own master when you're in your cell, and you really feel that. And somehow, some kind of, it was also here. I also want to say this. When I first started meditating, I had just come off of like a long stint of doing medicine work in South America and dabbling in many different spiritual, you know what I mean, different lineages.
Hmm.
And so at the time, I can say that I was young and my inner core wasn't nearly as strong as it is today. And so I think I probably invited something in, I'm not sure, but for 2 days, I was in this. I felt it. I felt like this. I was like angry at everybody, but it felt like I was observing it. And I'm not sure if I opened myself up to something or if that was just some deep thing that was within me. It's so hard. The mind is so elusive. It's like when things are, but I've seen possession in real life. So I'm not sometimes surprised if it comes up. But it was just a kind of a thing of me realizing and observing like none of these things feel like the way that I move or I interact or I behave. And it took like 2 days for it to clear. And I kind of felt it come and I kind of felt it go clearly.
Wow.
So it was a very interesting experience and taught me a lot about definitely not you know definitely not being open. Like you never open your field, you never give anything permission to enter your field, period, because if there's any energies around, they will take the opportunity. A lot of invisible beings are looking for hosts if you believe in the invisible world.
Wow. Wow. So that sounded almost like it got exorcised, like an exorcism. Like it came, you said you felt it coming in and you felt it going out. And you said keyword permission, like you gave it permission. It's almost like you've seen those old vampire films or those old, the old vampire stories of, the vampire comes and it knocks on your door and you have to let it in. Like you have to welcome it into your house. It can't cross the barrier of the door. There's some sort of, superstition or some sort of rule or like a law. It can only come in if you let it in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the salt. That's the salt ring. That's the real deal. It really is. That's how our dimension operates without permission. And we're constantly giving subconscious permission, subtle permission, we're asking for power. Like, I think maybe probably I was like, show me something, give me, like, I was probably opening myself up in a way that was opening up my field to something that I didn't want. Now, the grace is being in a place where you're like on any Dhamma land, there's so much protection there because they understand that when you're working deeply within your own mind, things are going to be flying out of you, coming, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of protection around any Dhamma land. So it was contained in the sense that, if I wasn't there, who knows how long I would have had to really maybe work with that energy inside of me. But it was a very strange experience to feel like, I was cutting my eyeballs at people, just kind of like, I was like operating like a total, parasitic, weird entity thing. Yeah. And it was weird. So yeah, definitely always permission is happening no matter what in this plane. And that's why strengthening our minds is so important because, if we're open, if we're just open, just in general, without using discernment, then we're open to a lot of things that we really don't want, to be feeding
Yeah.
within us, So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Danielle, like what a valuable lesson, and I'm glad that you're still here, still have all your wits about you. You're still you, that you weren't taken over and that it left your vessel because, you seem to really, like we were saying before, you have a lot of clairsentience, you feel things, you have a lot of claircognizance. you know things, you know, and it just is just very intuitive and very spiritually guided. And you mentioned that in Ecuador, you did two vision quests. You said two vision quests. For anybody who doesn't really understand what a vision quest is, how would you describe like a vision quest?
Yeah. So I was operating under my taita, Arturo Chiriboga, and he's my elder in
Mhm.
Ecuador. And so he holds the El Camino Rojo, it's the red path. And this comes from the Lakota tribe in America, in the
Mhm.
Americas, and they brought it all through Central and South America. And so the red path is a 4-year rite of passage. So the first year is 4 days, 4 nights, no food, no water. You have one blanket and you sleep under a tree. And then the next year is 7 days. We in our lineage work with medicines. So on my 7 day, I did 4 days, 4 nights, no food, no water under my tree. And then they bring you 3 pieces of fruit and then like a big jug of San Pedro, which is a mescaline cactus. And then it goes on. And then so then I haven't done my 9 day,
Hold on, hold
which
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's go. Wait. Really back. Wait. Let's really hold on. So, okay, I'm just trying to get a picture. All right. So you're saying 4 days, 4 nights, no food, no water. You're completely dry,
Mhm,
and you just got a blanket. You're under a tree.
mhm.
You're just sleeping there. You're just there, and then you said afterwards they bring you like 3 pieces of fruit and a big thing of San Pedro. This is like an elixir
San
or
Pedro is a mescaline, so it's kind of like a peyote. It's in the same family as peyote,
okay.
but it's so it does have some psychoactive effects, but it's very watered down because they understand that we've been dry for 4 days, and so it's kind of yeah, it tastes like a burnt cactus water, but
Whoa.
yeah, but it's really beautiful because then you get the medicine, and San Pedro is a masculine medicine. It's like a grandfather medicine,
Mhm.
and it's kind of more along the lines of something like you might get from like a lighter kind of mushroom dose where things kind of become vibrant. You
Mhm.
know, you can perceive how everything is interconnected, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it helps kind of clear the veil on that. So yeah, so that's what the vision quest is, and it's a rite of passage that goes on after that too. Like if people want rights to carry medicine like ayahuasca, then they go beyond 17, 21 days and on and so forth, and they're just, yeah, absolutely elders on the path.
My goodness. So with clearing the veil, with like we're not in Kansas anymore. Like you're absolutely just opening yourself to what is beyond, what is beyond. In that super sensitive state, that heightened state of sensitivity, when you're imbibing, these things that are taking you and showing you things, what do you now know that you can never unknow? Like what now is known to you and has been shown to you that can never be unknown to you? That
Mm,
maybe a lot of people in society take for granted or have no idea about this reality.
yeah. Well, I could say like one specific ceremony that was really beautiful that I was shown something I think is relevant for everyone is um, I was shown like all these broken mirrors, like distortion fields, and they were in relationship to other people.
Mm,
So looking at myself in the mirror of another person, but looking through other person's not broken, but distorted nature, my distorted
mm,
nature, we're trying to perceive each other, and there's distortion happening on both sides.
mm,
And then the medicine began to show me that when you return yourself to nature, so then I saw nature, and I saw nature as this pristine mirror, like clear, no shatters, no distortions, nothing. And the medicine was basically sharing to me, like, if you want to know yourself in a clean mirror, if you want to be able to truly come to understand yourself, then you return yourself to nature.
mm.
Just nature so that you don't have the reflection of these other distortion fields there. Because humans, cities, all this other stuff, we're trying to understand ourselves through somebody else's. I'm trying to understand myself through Jerome's consciousness. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. And maybe that's not a good example because maybe that's a really beautiful reflection. But in a lot of ways, that was, probably a really important one for me to see, because it just reminded me, like, if I'm not knowing myself, then I only have one thing to do, which is to go be in nature. And then, so that came actually before I sat my vision quest. And then I sat my vision quest, and just having, let's a 7 days where you're just under a tree, you have a 10 by 10 square, you can't move from that space, and no mat, no nothing, you're just a blanket and nature. And so grounded the entire time,
Mhm.
in breathing fresh air the entire time, up in the mountains. So it's really beautiful. And that clarity, that attunement, the circadian rhythm, like everything just gets reattuned with nature. Like we're never broken, we're never, we just have to get out of our comfort zone, get out of our boxes,
Mhm.
and return ourselves to the environment that we were born to be a part of, which is nature.
This is the way. This is the message. This is definitely the message. And I love your description and your picture that you painted of, these mirrors, like these reflections. We have all these connections with all these reflections, and they send us off in all these directions, you know? So it's like that mirror, the distortion field. It reminded me of, there's a movie called Doctor Strange. It's one of my favorite, it's probably my favorite of the Marvel series, of all the superhero series. Doctor Strange, they dropped so many gems and jewels in that movie. And one of them was the mirror dimension. They were working with the mirror dimension. And the ancient one, she was able to, work with the light and the darkness of this mirror dimension that was like a parallel world on top of the world. It was like right on top of it, but a lot of people didn't see it or didn't even know that it existed, but it persisted and you couldn't resist it. So it was very interesting to just hear like about the distortion fields and the mirrors that we surround ourselves with every day, but that when you go back into nature, you're in like a clean mirror, like a mirror that's spotless, that you can feel a lot deeper, and it can actually revitalize you, rejuvenate you, reinvigorate you, and restore you, back to center in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I love Doctor Strange too. That's definitely one of my movies. And when I came off my 30-day fast, that was one of the things that I became so hyper aware of like the colonies within me, like
Mhm.
all the microbiome and all the beautiful support that's happening here, and all the cells that are not human happening in the body.
Mhm.
And just feeling this deep call to like go take them on a walk. Like I wasn't even taking myself on a walk. I was taking all of the cells of this being and all the microbiome and everything into the forest for them to commune with their tribe, you know what I mean, with the larger microbiome, and with Mother Earth. And so that was humbling for me to remember, like, oh, it's not always for this, me, whatever I perceive myself to be. It's that there's something much bigger happening here, and we're living in organic vessels, you
Mhm.
know and so we have to understand that they thrive.
Mhm.
If we're stewarding our vessel properly, they thrive in a natural environment,
Right.
and getting exposed to different flora and fauna,
Mm.
and that's part
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, the alliteration, the flora and fauna. Come on, you're just bringing your vessel, stewarding your vessel, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to wrestle when you steward your vessel.
Yo.
Go to,
Yes.
go out to nature, let it nestle. Go ahead, steward your vessel. This is it. This is it right here.
Yes.
You're speaking it. You're speaking it. So, they say, Danielle, your vibe attracts your tribe. Like we don't have to just merely survive. I love that you say we can thrive.
Mm,
Yeah.
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 So finding your tribe in nature, going back to nature, just remembering and coming back together with the things that we've become untethered, you know, just getting it back together, we feel a lot better. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Thank you for
awesome.
dropping so many points just on rhyme. You're everything.
You make it easy. You make it easy. This is like I'm getting this from you. It's coming, it's streaming. You're like beaming, you're streaming,
Mm.
and I'm just deciphering the meaning, you know. I'm just learning from you. And oh my goodness, you mentioned a name and it was similar to something that you put on your page from your threads. By the way, y'all need to follow Danielle on threads. Follow this woman on threads. She is just dropping gem after gem. Just this stream of consciousness, like you said, is just coming through on threads. I love the content that you're putting out. And one of them, you talked about uh, Tath-
Oh,
Tathagata teachings.
yeah.
How do you pronounce it? Tathagata?
Tathagata. Yeah.
Tathagata. Can you talk about these teachings that it was like you said that you found truth in these Tathagata
Mhm.
teachings. I've never even heard of the word.
So the Tathagata is the Buddha. That's another way to call the Buddha Gautama Buddha, because there are many Buddhas, you know, but the Buddha that is of my lineage, yours, yeah, is the Tathagata, is that's him. And so going to read, like for example, going to read the Pali Canon, which is in Pali, this is the language the Buddha spoke. Very profound to read his words. They're translated by the monks, you know, as best as possible into English, but you have the Pali there to reflect back. Not that I read Pali, you know what I mean, but little tiny bits. But just the teachings of the Buddha have been profoundly maturing, humbling. They have brought me into a grounded state in my life where other things, like I've said that a lot of other things brought me into a state of feeling high, feeling elated, feeling all these things, right? That was very easy, very natural to me. Always gravitating towards the celestial. But the teachings of the Buddha have brought me into like this, I can't even explain it. It's like it's stripped my innocence, which sounds kind of scary, but in that sense, it's left me with this feeling of much more solid ground to move from. And so I'm finding that to be much more on my track now, where I'm going, because the other stuff is beautiful, you know, and but to me this, I feel very clear, like I'm on my path now, and I see it clearly, and I get that, like we were talking about earlier with the course, like you're basically put in bondage, you know, no words, sitting, your schedule is dictated for you, your food is given to you, you're kind of put in this bondage with just almost no choice except for to be in the moment. And it's a representation of life in a lot of ways. Like life, we don't understand it properly, we're just kind of living in this bondage. And so for me it's following that path, and I'm going to take his teachings as far as I can until I understand I have to find my own way from here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as of right now, there's nothing else that's been more profound to me in terms of more shaking me to my core. Been a lot of things I've had to grapple with, and his teachings, you know, on the celestial realms and everything, and just impermanence and how deep and high it goes, and where the final resting place really is. So probably won't say more than that, but it's, yeah, I've definitely, you know, have found, at least for now, my home
Yeah.
in those things.
You found your home. That's beautiful. What a beautiful path, you know, what a beautiful journey and just a beautiful learning, like the Tathagata teachings. Tathagata teaching. I gotta remember that name. I didn't even know that that was, you know, the name of the Buddha. And just to hear it from you when you're talking about this, like you talked about, Danielle, how it stripped away your innocence, and it lends credence to someone who might say, you know, that some people feel like there's a burden of knowledge. Like sometimes there's a benefit to knowing more, but then there's a burden to knowing more. Like because now you know,
Yeah.
like now you know now. So there's, it's like once something is known, it cannot be unknown. You can't go back from whence you came. and there's certain people that feel like ignorance is bliss. You know, they don't want to know more, because once you know now. You know,
Yeah.
so for you, it seemed to do the opposite. Like in a paradoxical way, you feel more grounded. You feel more founded. Like it's more sound. Can you talk about that?
Well, I would say at first it definitely was kind of earth shaking. You know, at first some of these things were like, whoa, this changed my whole conception of what I thought,
Hmm.
you know, was real. And in the sense, what I feel like it kind of shifted my orientation away from like a lot of these desires. Like I didn't really realize how much my desires were just sending me off in this direction, sending me off in that direction, you know, just kind of wasting time here and there, not wasting but learning, of course, all along the way. But these desires for, you know, some perfection of reality or some partnership or some this or some that, and just kind of always feeding into these impermanent desires, and realizing at some point that, yeah, that to not have those was actually what the where the real freedom was. And to understand that there's a spiritual process that's taking place, that at one lifetime or another you have to move through. And I believe we all kind of awaken to that when we're ready to, because there's many different paths that are happening here. There's a downward spiral and dimensions that go down. There's an upward spiral and dimensions that go up. That's very beautiful. And then there's this middle path, which is like walking towards an exit point. And and so in the middle path, it's kind of like you're not really trying to change anything, but just be with everything as it is. Like this is really hard, and that really anchors in for me the true sense of compassion, which is to be with suffering. You know, it's to be on firm ground and to be with somebody, you know, or be with your own reality as it's kind of sinking or in its own turmoil. It's not to go and get in the pit with it and save it and try to rouse it up to be something different, something more beautiful. It's just the capacity to figure out how to be with life as it's coming, as it is. And it's very subtle, the teachings, because it's just realizing that we have so many desires, you know, so many preferences, so many desires, and to really start to ground in with reality as it is, plain simple. This is what it is. And that takes maturity, because a lot of times we don't like maybe how it looks, how it feels, who's around, what people are doing, you know, what reactions we're getting. But just to be with what's happening internally, that leads to freedom. And so the teaching is simple, the practice is simple, hard to really do it. You know what I mean? Like hard to really apply it, hard to really do it. Training, training, training all the time, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
one thing that I would say, which is important to your point, is that there's these four sublime states, and you know, compassion, sympathetic joy, metta, loving kindness, and then equanimity. And they say that equanimity, which is the balance of the mind, is which is it's not craving, it's not averse, it's just here, you know. And the equanimity is what takes one to the final goal. It takes one to final liberation. If you're seeking for liberation, it takes one there, because you realize everything is impermanent. No matter how beautiful it gets, this is beautiful, okay, and it's also impermanent. And that teaching takes one the whole way. But if equanimity is not balanced with supreme compassion, with supreme metta, loving kindness, with supreme sympathetic joy, if I can't just be, Jerome, I'm so happy for you, you know, you're shining, you're glowing. If I don't have that capacity within me, the equanimity can harden, and it can make one cold, and it can make one not present with the breath that's happening here. So when things are joyful, when things are beautiful, be with that. When things are hard, when things are tumultuous, be with that. That's the ultimate kind of pathway through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Beautifully said. You know, simply put, it's like I love that the just the contrast of, you know, it may be simple, but it's not easy. You know, that the principle is simple, but the execution is not easy. That is the difference. And I love how you illustrate that, because you just reminded me, brought me down memory lane, Danielle, of Goenka and all the discourses that they had us listen to him during those 10 days. and he would just always be like, anicca, 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 you know, changing, changing, and just sitting with what is, and not trying to change it into what it might be, or what it would be, what it could be, what it should be, you know, but to sit with what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so simple.
It's so simple. You're like, wow, my knee is killing me. It's on fire. I got 10 more minutes, 20 more minutes. But it's like, okay, let me just be with this knee pain. Let me just get into it. Let me just sit with it. See how long I can do that. And it usually subsides. Like, just to
Mhm.
really make the decision to be with something. Okay, I'm just gonna be here.
Yeah.
Let's just sit in this for a second, you know. And it does, it softens, and then more and more that capacity grows little by little. And yeah, anicca, all the way, all the time. That's it. Everything is impermanent and everything is flowing. And it's important to note that, this equanimity is so heavy hitting. It's such a strong principle and thing that we develop in, that it has to be balanced by all these other three
Mhm.
states of beauty. You know what I mean? Because that's how strong it is. And that's one thing I see a lot in the world is like people, I want to impart the teaching of, or have people start to understand the teaching of equanimity, because I see so many beautiful heart-centered people getting lost and drown in the world because there's so much suffering going on. If you open your eyes, it's happening everywhere. It's not just, oh, my little bubble of reality is beautiful and nothing else is happening. No, we're all connected. It's all connected. Everything is all connected. So somebody's suffering and pain happening on the other side of the world, we can't separate ourselves from that. Maybe we're unconscious of it, but at a deep, deep level, we're all entangled. We're all part of the same soup.
Mhm.
And so being able to hold both realities that are constantly happening is where the maturing comes from. That's where the equanimity comes in to help us understand, to not be overly crass, but to be able to be okay, this is happening. And I see a lot of people getting lost. We saw it during the pandemic. We saw it in people have so much compassion,
Mhm.
but it's not balanced with this teaching, and it gets lost in fear. It
Mhm.
gets drowned. It gets, it causes people to become depressed in a lot of ways and to become overcome with the suffering of the world. And so then we can't do anything either. You know what I mean? If we're in that state. So it's always the middle path for me.
Middle path, the middle way,
Yeah.
equanimity. Beautiful message. And we just have a few more questions, but I wanna ask and be respectful. Like, how much time do you have here?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we're good.
wonderful. This has been amazing. Just already the energy's raising. This is amazing so far. Just everything that you've given us, just gratitude, all gratitude to you, Danielle.
Mm.
We also have, so Emmanuel here is asking, are there any book recommendations where would someone new start? So any book recommendations just off the top of your head, just for what we've talked about, just for people who are, starting themselves in a new awareness. Do you have any, like, maybe a top three book list that have really helped you out in life?
Yeah. Well, I would say if you wanted to get in contact with any of the, like, more of the Buddhist, then Pariyati is they have a bunch of free on their website, pariyati.com, I think, or .org. They have a bunch of free website resources, PDFs, things you can download. Um, so there's a lot of information there if you want it on the Vipassana track. And on the other track, I mean, I would say earlier in if you want something more along the lines of something else, earlier in my days, like I read A Course in Miracles and when I was in my early 20s, and that really was a profound, just to get established in like love and fear, and just it all boils down to that. So that was a really important teaching for me. And I don't know, along the other lines of just like creation and reality, like a lot of Florence Shin Scavel's work, like The Game of Life and How to Play
Mhm.
It, is a good one. And yeah,
Nice.
Neville Goddard, Feeling is the Secret type of stuff,
Yes.
all that has been relevant to my path. Yeah.
Okay, so books on like manifestation, law of attraction, that kind of vibration, like these books that they talk about the mind and just what we find when we work with the mind, when we work with our feelings, what starts to be revealing, like what we attract into our lives through that emotion and through that devotion to, the things that we don't normally do on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think those are really good ways to start introducing ourselves to the concept. Like, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And all your emotions are just activating that into the world in any direction, you know? And if you think you can, but you feel like you can't, you really can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it all comes down to that gateway. So those have all been really supportive in my path, especially in my earlier days, for sure.
Yeah, these books like The Game of Life and How to Play It, Florence Scovel and Neville Goddard, The Feeling is the Secret. Like when you say they've really served you in your path, how has reading books like these things, how have they helped you when it comes to, fasting for 30 days? You've done dry fasting, you've done water fasting, you've done prolonged, extended periods without solid food,
Hmm.
So what do you feel has really served you in that arena when it comes to just being without entirely?
Yeah. Well, when I did my 30-day fast, I only let myself have the words of the Buddha, and that was really strong. That's pretty much all I read now exclusively. But I would say, being that my dry fasts were under supervision of a spiritual process during my vision quest, and that was really supportive and containing. And yeah, but other than that, I kind of just went off the wall with my 30-day fast. I was just wanted to experience it myself, you know what I mean? And of course, I've been fasting for many years, but never had done an extended fast like that. And did some research, tapped a lot into the dry fasting community. And do you know Filanov? I'm not sure if you know Filanov.
That book on dry fasting, right? Sergey Filinov?
Yeah, Sergey, yeah. So I tapped into some of his information that supported me a little bit. I thought, okay, well, if I'm doing the extended water fast, I'm just going to tap into the dry fasting community because they know how to go a little bit deeper than the water fasting community. No offense. But yeah, so some of those resources were good for me.
Awesome. So, Danielle, when you're doing something such as, fasting for 30 days, like you said, I kind of went off the wall, right? You're like, I'm gonna be honest, I went a little bit off the wall with that one. Why do you feel like that was off the wall? Because, the modern average person that we walk by, just day to day, they're not really, a lot of people aren't going a day, and a lot of people don't even go half a day, like 12 hours without being in constant digestion mode, without putting something in to their body. So even intermittent fasting for a lot of people is like, very uncomfortable. You went 30 days. So, yeah, please explain.
Yeah. Well, the first 30 days I did in a tent in complete solitude
Mm.
and no eye contact, no, I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't seeing anybody. I was just in a tent in solitude. And I've never had time pass so slow. Like never. I didn't have phone, I didn't have technology. I basically put myself in a course. And that was definitely around like day 6, day 7, I realized like, oh, I'm not going to be able to really make the long haul without community, without like some interaction with people. And so at that point, I decided, to just integrate a little bit, have some community with my mom and stuff like that, and not really connecting with the outside world at all, but just having some of my really close community around to share the experience with. And that really helped. Like I realized like it was humbling for me. I'm always thinking I can just do this myself, I'm good, I got it. And I really came to the awareness, the humility, like, hey, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. And so even though nobody was fasting with me, having my community, my close people around me was essential for me. And when I say I went off the wall, like I just kind of made it up. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, here we go. I'm doing distilled water. I'm not doing salt. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to go all the way with it. And I'm just going to experience as much as I can and see how it goes. And I told people, like a lot of people were kind of concerned. And I was like, well, I'll take it day by day. And every day after day 21, I'll be evaluating, if this and that. But when it came to day 21, I just knew absolutely I wasn't ready to come off. And day 25 wasn't ready to come off. And There was a little bit of storm happening in my reality. Like I was inner storming, like day 21, day 22, 23, 24, 25. I just was like, I don't have any peace. If I don't have peace, I'm not ending the fast. That's one of my hard and fast rules, never to end a fast. If there's any kind of health, you know, if there's any mental storm going on, if there's any physical body storm going on, I just don't exit. That's not the appropriate time to me, for me, in my reality. You know, I wait till the waters calm down and then I can make a clear exit. And so I finally had peace. Like day 28, I was like, okay, cool. In 2 days, I'm going to end my fast. And I did 30 days for my 30th birthday in representation of my 30th birthday. So that was really, yeah, a beautiful thing. And, you know, I felt in a lot of ways like, yeah, like you said earlier, like I'm in this body, so I'm just going to experience it. And like, it was a little bit like thinking about, okay, how do I rebuild, you know, things coming out of this? How do I get my digestion going again? Like there was some processes to it, but again, it's just, it's day by day, you know, it's moment by moment. You find your way. You start a process, you're going to learn no matter what. And that's what, for me, what fasting is. It's a muscle, like it's a skill set. You just start evaluating in the process how it's going, and you know, and that's it. Like be with yourself, tune into yourself, and it will guide the way. So I kind of just, you know, let my mind go and let the body
Yeah.
take over.
Yeah, it's so intelligent. You know, it knows what it needs. It knows how to receive. It knows. You know, it's like when we get the mind out of the way of the natural process, like you said, just hand over the reins, you know, just let it take the, you know, giddy up, like buckle up, you know, here we go, you
Yeah.
know? So that is a beautiful explanation, and just to witness your body functioning on that level, you know, beyond what normally people think is even possible, you know, even allowed for our existence. You know, a lot of people think that you will perish, you know, if you go beyond 3 days, or if you go beyond 5 days, or like there's no physical capability beyond that level, but you were just finding and discovering and recovering and uncovering so many things within yourself as you went on. And I love how you said, you know, if you're going through the storm, you don't try to avoid the storm, you just allow the storm to pass. You know, you're like, okay, I'm going through it. I am going through it. We're going to get through it, you know, together. You know, we're not just going to try to run away from this thing. We're going to process it. So, my goodness, you know, what did you witness? Because you talk a lot about microbiome, you talk a lot about parasitic organisms, parasites, things that, you know, the unseen, the realm of the unseen within the vessel.
Hmm.
What sort of things did you witness exiting, like being eliminated, being purged, you know, being released?
Yeah. So right around day 21, it was pretty mellow, nothing really. I had done a parasite cleanse before,
Mm,
and I really had prepared my body, you know, beforehand with tissue cleansing. I did intestinal cleansing, I did liver cleansing, I did parasite cleansing. Like I made sure my body was ready to
mm,
go. But around day 21, I started getting all these really weird thoughts, like all these super cravings for like food that I would never really, hamburgers and old stuff, right? Like hamburgers and donuts and things that I was like, no, this isn't me. And I was telling my family, like, I think I'm gonna be a food blogger. I thought I wanted to be a food blogger. Like when I say you have to be careful what is coming up in your mind, it's because I've experienced it. So I was day 21. I'm, you know, maybe like 2 days before that, I was going crazy thinking about all this food.
mm,
I couldn't even get a grip on it. Like it was so strong. And I didn't have any desire to eat, but it was like when I ended the fast, I was thinking, I'm organizing. So Sundays, we're going around to eat. We're going to go to this thing. We're going to do that. And I believed it for
mm,
sure. And day 21, around like noon, I had done like 15 days of enemas in the beginning of the thing, but I stopped doing that. I wasn't eliminating anything and I was pretty sure I was clean. Well, I had a natural bowel movement on day 21 and it was like this black tar, like just, and it entered my intestinal, like it entered my intestines from somewhere else. I'm pretty sure it came from my nervous system, I think, but it entered, or could have been from my liver. I'm not sure, but it's very black. And I just felt so sick and immediately had to eliminate. So that was one round. Then Later, like 6 to 8 hours later, I had another round of that thing come through. I'm like, what is this? I passed it again, the black tar. Again, it was like 1 in the morning. I had to get up and go to the bathroom. A third round of that black tar. And I'm telling you, the last round of that, at day 21, water, plus I did all this tissue cleansing. At day 21, I passed those 3 rounds, and all of those weird desires for all that greasy, fatty, salty, sugary food vanished. 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 All of that chatter in my mind, all that fake veil of I want to be a food blogger. I think I've been doing something wrong with my life. Forget holistic health. Forget all this. I'm going in to just enjoy my life and eat food. Be a foodie. That vanished. And so that taught me a lot about the deep grip that the parasites have on us, and how deep they can burrow, and how long they can go without nutrition, how long they can go without food, and where they nest in the body, and how just hooked into our nervous system they can be, and how they're making our food choices, So, yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus. I'm like, this whole time, I don't know how people are feeling who are listening in the audience. I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. Like it's almost like it's sinister. It feels sinister, Like, a part of me, of course, a part of me wants to feel like, see, somebody's like powerful. This is powerful. So a part of me has felt like, okay, I invited these organisms into my body. Life just wants to live. It just wants to live. It's like, I mean, but unfortunately, it needs a host. It needs me. It needs a host to inhabit the vessel, to inhabit the temple in order to survive and thrive. So that's the disappointing thing. It just wants to live. It's just like life that doesn't want to die, but it needs my body to live. So I just kind of usher it on its way. But then when I'm hearing these things, and it just sounds so sinister, it sounds so almost esoteric, like the black serpent, like the black tar that comes out the body. And this is not the first time I've heard this. And it's always after an extended, prolonged period of time where you think you've gotten rid of everything. You think you're completely clear. You think you're done. You think there's nothing possibly could be still in my body. And then the black tar, this substance that comes out. So for some people, I remember seeing the pictures of people, thank goodness we have brave individuals, men and women, brave people who do the videos and these photos and videos of, the mucoid plaque and this rubbery substance that smells like death. And it's like, I remember one of my friends, she was like, I've been vegan for like, 7, 8 years. There's got to be meat in this. There's got to be animal stuff. This is crazy. I've been eating vegan for however long. This is crazy. Like, this goes back to days where I was eating at McDonald's and Popeyes and Wendy's and KFC's and all this stuff. This is crazy. And she was like, this is not poop. This is not poop. This is something else. This is something different. And she was showing people, and people were like, nah, that's in her body, but that can't be in my body, right? Like, that's just an isolated case, right? Then, another lady, same thing. She hadn't been eating animal products for so many years, and she was like, I'm sorry, if you haven't gotten this stuff out of your body, you're going to be plagued with issues for life. Like, it's going to be for life, because they know how to hide in the body. They know how to reside in the body. Like you said, Danielle, with no nutrition, they can serve. They're very, it's very like notorious for how hard it is to really release. And it seems like the deep purge that you were able to do. One of my mentors, his name is Elitam Elamine, and he's on the breatharian path. And I've witnessed him, for over 4 years now. I've witnessed him every time I've been with him. He doesn't eat, he doesn't drink, and he just lives his life. He exercises, he does everything but consume anything. Nothing goes in. But he told me, same thing as you, Danielle, one of his long fasts, by like between the seventh day and this day, this black tar, this substance came out his body, and he pointed at it. He said, that's poison. He said, that was in me, right? And he got to see it. He got to witness it release.
Mhm.
And he felt like he had a completely different body. He had a whole new body. He had a whole new mind, a whole new vessel, and he no longer had to wrestle with all those things. So just really just thank you for painting that picture for people to understand that it's not done. The work is not done, you know?
It's the long haul because I mean, in reality, even when we're consuming anything, even if you're doing a juice cleanse, let's say, and but the body's still getting nutrition. It's not digging deep into the places, it's not getting into your bone marrow to get minerals to survive.
Right.
It needs to get to that point so that it can really start to excavate everything that's going on because these things are burrowed deep. They're burrowed. They're not just in our intestines. That's like worms and stuff like that. But when I say parasites, these things, the microscopic ones, the ones that don't even look like an organism, those can be the most, you know what I mean, dominating your mind. They can be the most harmful
Mm,
in a lot of ways. They hook into the nervous system. They're chilling up in your brain. They're all
chilling.
around. I mean, not to scare people, you know what I mean? But this is the reality of what it is.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I didn't know. It's like I was making healthy choices. I was eating raw vegan for 6 months before that, and in the wintertime eating healthy, cooked probably, sweet potatoes and
Mhm.
whatever. But it's like it's not necessarily about how healthy we're eating. It's about how much we're letting the body dig into itself and eat itself so that we can start to really uncover because they develop biofilms and then you know what I mean, they're intelligent. We have to understand the game that we're playing. They're very intelligent, and it's probably unrealistic that we'll ever have in the environment we're living that we'll ever have necessarily zero if we're eating food that will ever have zero in the body of these harmful organisms. Now we have tons of, symbiotic organisms in the body that are providing us vitamins and minerals and happy hormones and all this stuff. That's great. But these ones that just put off toxins in the body, isopropyl alcohol, and they're putting off formaldehyde, they're putting off all kinds of things in the body, and then that's just off gassing, and we're just reabsorbing that, and it's cycling through, and it's making us really sick. I definitely would say in my training, we do a lot with parasites in my health training that I'm finishing up. And my teacher says for sure that, not for, I can't say for sure, but my teacher says strongly that almost every chronic condition tied to parasites, almost every, we're looking at parasites and metals, and this is where you get into the deep fundamentals of some of the things that can really disrupt the harmony of your body, never getting into homeostasis. You're always just constantly fighting, detoxing these things. It's not even about you eat clean, that's great, but these things are still wreaking havoc. They're not good guests that you want in your body. They're the worst house guests, you know what I mean? So it's, yeah.
For sure, for sure. So the last thing I wanted to ask is just for people listening that, when you said that the days were stretching so long during this 30-day period where you're just on distilled water, you're doing this, and you didn't even know you were, gonna go that long until you hit those points, those kind of, points where it lets you know, no, I need to go further. No, I need to go a little bit further. What were you keeping yourself preoccupied with? Because when somebody is doing a fast and especially of this magnitude, and they're getting to the deep levels, you understand how much time there is in a day. Like we understand this with Vipassana as well. We understand this just with meditation, just with doing a course. But when you're not, buying food, you're not eating, you're not cleaning, you're not, taking care of dishes, you're not in the digestion mode, sleep is a different, a little bit different. Some people, they feel like they have to eat to put themselves back to sleep because it becomes uncomfortable to be awake for that long, and they become bored with having nothing else to do with all the time and energy on their hands. So what did you occupy yourself with during that 30-day period to keep your mind engaged while your body had to do what it needed to do?
Yeah. Well, I read some books that were specifically, like I tried to read things on the microbiome. I tried to read things on maybe like rebuilding, Arnold Ehret's book,
Mhm.
I tried to read just things on fasting if I felt like reading. But honestly, it was early, it was late spring here in Washington. It was really sunny outside.
Mm,
It was really beautiful. I spent like most of my day out in the sun, and then I would walk, and then I would just kind of be around, and I spent a lot of time just really being, and I was keeping my 2 hour meditation per day, and so I would sit and I would just kind of be, you know what I mean? Like that felt okay to me. But I felt the stark contrast when I started preparing meals for like refeeding. And I was like, I'm spending 6 hours a day, like preparing and cleaning and then preparing and cleaning. And I just realized for sure, like, wow, and I would say like coming off that fast, like next one I come off of, I'm going to do it a little bit differently just because I don't have quite the same I don't know, just uncertainty around how to rebuild the body. I felt like rebuilding the body, I was really concerned about making sure I got the right nutrition and this and that. I don't quite feel the same way now. Now I'll be more comfortable just to let the body start to, just a couple pieces of fruit and let it
mm,
build and grow as it wants to,
yeah.
not necessarily doing boiled vegetables and all that other
Okay.
stuff
Yeah.
so soon. So yeah, but yeah, definitely. I mean, you feel it, you feel how much time you have but community I think is also important,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
So spending time with community, you said you were reading literature, you were reading spiritual books, you were also going out into nature, being in the sunlight, that healing energy, just, being in the solar field and just releasing, just spending time just doing nothing. Yeah, just nothing.
Just
Yeah.
nothing.
Just, oh man, awesome, awesome, awesome. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you for your testimony. This is timeless,
Mm.
like I'm going to be watching this again and really absorbing, really getting all the nuggets of wisdom that you laid on us today. And just for anybody, if this is their first time witnessing you and they just really feel drawn to your story, drawn to your message, if they want to get in touch with you or get in tune with you, if you had any offerings or any services available, like where should people go to best receive you in that way?
Yeah, just my Instagram, and feel free to send me a message and tune up. I'd love to connect, and threads. That's kind of where I've been at right now. And there may be some things coming in the works for springtime, but no real virtual offerings or anything else right now. So yeah, soon
Beautiful.
more to come. But if you're tuning to my Instagram, then you'll catch everything that's on its way. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, much love. Somebody said down there that they said I will be downloading Threads just because of you. They're gonna download it. They don't even have the app. They're gonna download it just because of you.
oh yeah, love, 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 love.
Yeah. Yeah. This is amazing. So much love, Danielle. Enjoy the rest of your day, your moments, your time, your breath. Just enjoy and blessings. Blessings.
Blessings. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you for being you and doing everything you're doing. You're just a light.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All the
All
love.
right.
Bye.
Take care.